So this is a horse that I've got here for some training that he's got a bit of a cough. So we had the vet out yesterday and he's just on antibiotics for a week. Owner said to me that he is hard to paste. She said he's a nightmare, so to put it in his feed. But I wanted to just check out what he was actually like to paste. So last night when I came out, just with antibiotics, I prefer to make sure that it's actually gone, you know, that I've delivered it over the tongue and that they've actually got it, whereas in the feed I think there's more chance of them throwing it out of their feed, and that's not ideal because antibiotic resistance is a really big problem, and if horses aren't getting the full prescribed dose of antibiotics, then that can set them up for antibiotic resistance. So that's just my personal preference, is to make sure that they're actually getting their full prescribed dose of antibiotics. Hence why I would prefer to paste them or inject rather than have a paste in the feed orally. A powder in the feed orally, if they'll eat it's fine, but paste over the tongue's my preference. So his owner had said he was a bit of a nightmare to paste, and when I came out last night to paste him, I popped the tube up against his face just to check, and I got no reaction. He's a quiet horse and he just stood there, and I popped it into the corner of his mouth and he let me put the top bit of the tube just in the corner of his mouth, no problem at all, didn't move a muscle. He wouldn't open his mouth though, and when I just tried to jiggle it to get him to open his mouth, he reared, and then I went to pop it against his face and he reared and went forward over the top of me. And then when I just went to put a hand on the side of his mouth, so just a hand on, because you can desensitize them by popping a hand on and just putting a thumb in the mouth, and you know, if they can't accept that, then there's no point trying to stick a tube in. So then when I went to stick my hand on the side of his face, he struck out at me with the front leg and actually just got me in the thigh. So I'm like, right, okay, we need to do a little bit of work here. And it was really interesting because I just immediately, I've worked with this horse before, and I immediately just had a sense of clenched jaw, massive anxiety, and he didn't want to be forced, which is an interesting conundrum when you're looking at pasting. So I'm just going to see how today plays out, because I thought it would be a really interesting one, just a video to see what happens today and how things go. So let's just see what he's like. So he's good with that, but see, he's turning his head away, which means he's not a huge fan of it. He's not really wanting to accept. He's trying to kind of turn his head away and get out of my space a little bit with it. Good boy. So when I tried to force yesterday, that was when I got there, head stuck straight up like this, head up, and then the rearing started and he got progressively more and more anxious. So today I'm not going to force. I'm going to do what I did yesterday. So if I can start with a hand on, and if you can accept that, then I'm just going to take the pressure off. And this time he didn't turn his head away from me. Just want to make sure I'm not in a strike zone. If he does go to strike out with the front leg, I want to make sure I'm not directly in front of him. Good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy. Again, I can put a hand there and I can rub, and he's not moving his feet, but he hasn't got his head turned towards me and his jaw is like clenched. So I'm just going to wait. And there's a lick and a chew, which means he's just let go of a little bit of tension. And the really interesting thing these days is I feel in my body the minute they let go of the tension. I can feel when he's tense and holding. I feel it in my body, and this is a direct result of both the Reiki course that I've done and also all of the inner work that I've done, clearing out a lot of the baggage that's not really mine. So the more inner work, I'm finding anyway, that the more inner work we do, the deeper the connection we can develop with the horses is, and it's been just a fascinating journey this last couple of years. So there's a look in a chew, even though he's turned his head away. So I'm just going to wait and see if he brings his head back towards me. Good boy. There we go. Good boy. Good boy. And now I just want to put my hand there and I want to stick a finger in. And there's a little bit of resistance. I'm not going to go any further because he accepted that without a good boy. And again, the lick and chew, but he's just turning the head away. He's having a bit of a think, and now he's coming back to me again. Good boy. And to me, that's him giving me permission. He's saying, I'm okay with what you're doing, and I'm okay, I'm happy with what you're doing. When they turn their head away and they're trying to get out of your space, he's been taught not to. He's been taught not to move his feet. And he's a quiet horse, you know. Quite often it's easy to think, oh, he's quiet, he's not moving his feet, he's fine, there's no anxiety. But it's not the case, you know. He's one of these big gypsy cob cross, I think he's gypsy cob cross Percheron. Might be a bit of stock horse there too, I'm not 100% sure. But they're generally quiet, you know, they don't move their feet. But I find a lot of them hold a lot of anxiety. There's somebody walking up here that's got his attention. So again, I'm just going to stick my thumb, and I just want to play. I just want to see if I can play, have him just open his mouth. Without the tension, he's really got a jaw clenched. He's playing with his tongue. Bit of a feel, boy. Playing with his tongue. The minute he does that, I'll release, and again, just taking the pressure off. Yesterday I had to do everything from this level here, just crouch down, and I had to do it from this level here just so that I wasn't being a direct threat to him. And it's quite interesting here because you can't, I mean, he can just pull his head up at any time and be out of my space, but you know, there's sort of no direct threat. I found his anxiety was less when I was down at this level instead of standing beside him. So again, I just want to be able to, good boy, play with his mouth. And he licks and chews, and he turns his head away and he has a bit of a think about it. He's just released a big lot of anxiety in his gut area. I just felt the breath, even though he didn't audibly give a breath. And there's the head down, and there's the breath out. Good boy, good boy. So would it be okay if we did this? Because the vet said you need to have this to be able to get rid of that cough of yours. So if I can put that against the side and he accepts that, then I'm just going to take the pressure off by taking it away again. Good boy. Then I'll just see if I can just stick the corner in. If he accepts that, which he did, again I'll just take the pressure away. It's really interesting today, there's no big anxiety with him rearing or moving his feet like there was yesterday. Of course he makes a liar of me just as I say that, but yesterday he was rearing and, you know, he'd stand on his back legs and then jump forward at me, so there's none of that today. Good boy. Good boy. Head down. I've just got somebody walking up here which has got his attention. Head down. Good boy. Good boy. Again, I'm just going to see if I can stick this in the corner. Good boy. I'm just going to wriggle it. I want to see if I can get him to open his mouth a little and let me just pop it in. Good boy. And even just a lick and a chew here like that will be plenty for me to take the pressure off. Try that again, and that time he was nearly ready to accept the tube. Good boy. See now, it's almost at a stage where he's having a bit of a play with it. Again, I don't want to force him. Good boy. And he turned his head just towards me a little bit that time, so to me that's again a sign that he's okay with what I'm doing. So I'll just take the pressure off because I'm rewarding him for giving me the behaviour that I would like in this case, which is to A, not rear and jump on top of me, but B, to open his mouth and accept the tube. Good boy. Again, I'm just going to jiggle. Big tube, this one. They've got to open their mouth a fair bit for it to go in. I'm just going to see if I can stick a finger in there and again have a bit of a play. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. There was another big shift of energy there that I just felt. Good boy. Boy, and this time he's letting me pop it in a bit more. Good boy. Paste just delivered over the back of the tongue there. Not too much fuss today. So anyway, that was interesting. I just wanted to see what he was like this morning and thought it'd be a good one to make a training video of. He didn't give the really reactive behaviour that he did last night, so you don't get to see what he was like last night, but he was quite tense, and his owner said he does that to her whenever she tries to do a worming paste or bute or anything as well. So anyway, stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed that.